What's up, everyone? Thank you for stopping by and checking out another video. Today, I believe I'm going to be 2 days after the announcement of the new Canon SL3. I also believe it's going to be called the Canon 250D, if I'm not mistaken. But yeah, so this video is basically just going to be about a couple of the specs that I see. Is it worth it upgrading, or I guess just kind of like my opinions on it. For those that don't know, I do own the Canon SL2. That is what all of my videos have been recorded with for the last probably year, give or take. And I have a very good familiarity with the Canon SL2 or the 200D, and so I just want to see how much beneficial it is to either purchase the SL3 or still continue purchasing the SL2. So let's go ahead and get into it. Okay, so starting off, you can see that the Canon SL2 is going to come in both black and white colors. You can see if I switch here, you can see here's the white version of it, and if I switch back, there's the black version. So the white version looks a lot better than how it did previously, but to me it's just very gimmicky. You can see that the price is going to be $649. And that is the standard price, and that's what the SL2 costs as of right now. However, you pay $749, if I'm not mistaken, or $799 whenever you buy it with the kit lens. So scrolling down, you can see right here it was added to the lineup April 10th. So it was released yesterday, or announced yesterday. It's sticking with the 24 megapixel APS-C sensor, so that's not changing too much. What is changing, though, it's going to be enabled to shoot in 4K. If you want to go ahead, let's go ahead and click this right here, and you can see that it's going to be shooting it's going to be able to shoot 4K up to 24 frames per second. So that's that right there. So that's nice, but you still won't be able to get 4K slow motion. So moving on, we're going to go right here. It's going to keep the 3.0 touchscreen, which is the exact same of size what the SL2 has. It's still built in Wi-Fi and Bluetooth. Like I said, again, SL2 still has that. The Digigate processor, if I'm not mistaken, this is the most common processor that they continue to use. ISO ranges 100 to 256,000. I don't know if that beats the SL2 or not. I think it's right there, right in line with it. Optical viewfinder with 9-point autofocus system. I feel like this camera is a missed opportunity for them to maybe add at least 15 autofocus points. I think a 9-point autofocus, which is the same thing as the SL2, is a very big missed opportunity. A lot of people buying this camera are experimenting with either video and photography. They haven't really chosen which one they're pursuing the most. And for me, taking pictures on the SL2, I really wish I had the extra autofocus points. So like I said, I feel like that's a very big missed opportunity for them. Moving on, it says easy operation. Yeah, it has your standard hot shoe mount. It has your HDMI hookups. It also has your mic or your audio hookup as well. Your SD card as well as your battery are still both located on the very bottom of the camera. Okay, so let's move on to a little bit more different knowledge, or okay, so let's move along to the video aspect of it, because to me that's what I was kind of excited about. So let's go over to specifications, and it still takes, like I said, your same memory card and your same battery is going to be located on the bottom. We're going to go down to, so right here, this is where it's going to tell you the frame rates and what it is capable of doing in either 24 frames per second, 60 frames per second, 30 frames per second, and so on. So like I mentioned earlier, 4K, that's going to be available. It actually looks like it won't crop it. I'm kind of curious to see if it actually crops it, but right here, judging by this, it doesn't look like it's going to crop it. But yeah, so it shoots in 24 frames per second. Moving on, 1080 is going to be shooting in 60 frames per second or 30 frames per second. So I'm not sure what Canon is actually trying to do, but this is the exact same thing. Now that I look at it, this is the exact same thing that they did to the EOS RP. The RP, they took out the 24 frames per second. Not sure why they're moving this route to where they're pushing everyone to 30 frames per second. But again, I feel like that's a very big missed opportunity. Maybe to add a little bit of extra slow motion if you're taking out the normal frame rate of 24 frames. So like I said, in Full HD 1080, it's going to only offer in 60 as well as 30 frames per second. Moving on, your regular 720 HD, that's going to be only in 60 frames per second. And then your HDR 1080 is going to be in 30 frames per second. And then the time lapse, you have your lapses right here. Both of those are in 30 frames per second. Like I said, my personal opinion, as looking at this right now, not only do I think they really skimped back on what the Canon SL2 200D offers, but I really think they almost ruined this camera by the amount of features that, one, they took out, and two, they tried to squeeze in and say, hey, this camera is worth the upgrade. So for me, as of right now, I don't think if you have an SL2, I think you should stay with the SL2. If you don't have an SL2 and if you're looking at comparing cameras and whatnot, as of right now, I think you should actually keep buying the SL2 simply because of the frame rate choices as well as what it can do for you with either photography and video. Let's go ahead and move on. We're going to go back up here and we're going to go to the what's in the box. So this is the kit lens version. It's going to come with an 18 to 55 millimeter lens. And the lens actually looks just like this right here. It's a great beginning lens to learn the camera, to learn what it can do for you and such. But I highly recommend after you start learning that camera to take the leap and purchase a different lens. Most people purchased a 50 millimeter lens. I did, and it was a great lens, but it actually has a tighter focal length on a crop sensor camera than what you probably want to be your second lens. So I would go with more of along the lines of maybe a 24, more of a wide angle lens, and see how that works for you. So again, it's going to stay with the same battery, which is going to be the LPE17. These are very cheap and inexpensive batteries. You can buy some on Amazon for right around, I think it's like 20 bucks, and you're going to get 2 batteries as well as the charger. So very inexpensive in regards to that. Let's go ahead and look at the sample images. But your standard images right here, you have one of a cityscape, one of a beach in a sunny day, and then another one that looks like under a tree with some flowers on it. So moving along, you can go to the videos. I'll leave this link to Canon's website or Canon's announcement right here. I'll leave it down in the description below if you decide you want to check it out. But here's some videos about the SL3, and in case you're interested in learning more about it. Supplies and accessories, if we move over, here's different things you can actually find for sale for the SL3. Like I said, the SL3 is going to come in both black and white, which is very much the same as the SL2. All in all, guys. Alright guys, so these are just my opinions, and like I said, it's only because I actually own the Canon SL2 or the 200D. For me, I don't think that it's worth it to purchase the SL3 simply because, one, of the frame rates, and two, the lack of autofocus points that they didn't add. They kept it at 9 autofocus points. They took away the 24 frames per second. So if you're hoping to find the vlogging camera, this is not going to be a good option simply because you're going to have a little bit different shutter speed and frame rate whenever you're recording talking videos such as this one right here. Everything else looks to have stayed for the most part the same. The only addition is they added the 4K at 24 and as well as the 4K time lapse. So in my opinion, taking a step back and looking at this camera, it actually almost feels like, okay, so we added 4K and now we can sell this as a new camera in a cheaper body. And that's basically what this is, because they pulled out the 24, they didn't change anything else, and here they are reselling it. Don't know their thought process on that, but I think it was a very risky move, especially for new creators going out into the market. So if you enjoyed this video, please smash that like button. It really helps me out. If you're new to the channel, please consider subscribing. I post videos just like this once a week. If you have any questions, leave them down in the comment section below. I'm curious to hear everyone's thoughts about the Canon SL3, or the 250D as I believe it's going to be called. Like I said again, as of right now, I believe it's retailing for $649. It's going to come with your kit lens of 18 to 55 millimeter. And of course, you'll be able to purchase the body only, if I'm not mistaken, online and such like that. But yeah, guys, like I said, smash that like button, subscribe, and I will see you in the next one. Later.